All right, let's talk about something that affects every single one of us, money. Specifically, we're going to look at the Philippine financial engine, how the cash you put away in your savings account actually helps build the entire country.
I mean, seriously, you see these huge projects popping up everywhere. A new skyscraper changing the skyline, a new expressway cutting through the mountains. Have you ever just stopped and thought, where does all the money for that actually come from?
Well, it's definitely not magic. There isn't some secret vault of money sitting around. Nope, it's a process. It's a really fascinating journey that connects millions of individual choices. And believe it or not, that entire massive economic story, it kicks off with something super simple. It starts the moment you, or someone just like you, decides to save a single peso instead of spending it. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning with the absolute foundation of this whole system, the simple act of saving. So in the simplest terms, saving is just the money you earn but don't spend right away. But here's the key, the part that says it's an indispensable prerequisite. That's just a fancy way of saying that without saving, none of the big stuff, the roads, the businesses, the growth, can even happen. It all starts here. And look, we all have our reasons for saving, right? These are probably familiar to you. We're building that ipon para sa sakuna, our emergency fund. We're saving up for our kids' education, for a comfortable retirement, for a down payment on a house, or maybe even to finally start that small business we've been dreaming about. These personal goals, they're the fuel. So you've put that money aside, it's safe. What happens then? This is where saving gets a superpower. It transforms into something much, much bigger, economic investment. Now, this is a really important distinction. Saving, that's the personal act of not spending your money. But economic investment, that's the act of using that saved money to create brand new things that actually grow the economy. We're talking new factories, new roads, new technology. One makes the other possible. So how do we get from your personal savings account all the way to a brand new factory? There's a missing link, right? We need a connector. And that connector, my friends, is the financial system. You know, I love this analogy. It just clicks. Think of the financial system as a giant network of highways. It takes all the little streams of savings from millions of people like us, channels them together into a massive river of capital, and then directs that river to the exact places where it can build and grow our country.
So if we're going to boil this whole thing down, it's really just 3 simple steps. First, you save. Second, the financial system gathers up all those savings. And third, with all that collected money, the nation builds. That's it. Simple, powerful, and it's happening all around us every single day.
Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. We get the big picture, but how exactly does this gathering part work? Well, there are 2 main highways your money can take through the system. First step is the direct path. This is kind of like you're cutting out the middleman. When you buy stocks, say on the Philippine Stock Exchange, you're buying a tiny piece of ownership in a company. And when you buy a bond, you're basically giving a direct loan to a company or even the government to help fund their projects. But the second path is the one most of us use all the time, probably without even thinking about it, the indirect path. When you put your money in a bank or you pay your SSS or GSIS contributions, these institutions act as intermediaries. They pool all our small savings together into a huge fund that they can then use for massive loans and investments. So that's all the theory, but let's see how this whole engine actually performs in the real world. Let's look at a couple of powerful examples right here in the Philippines. Just let that number sink in for a second. $37.2 billion. That's how much money our overseas Filipino workers sent home in 2023 alone. That is a massive, massive injection of savings into our economy. And that money isn't just vanishing. A huge chunk of it gets invested right back into the economy. It pays for a child's college degree, that's investing in human capital. It builds a new house for the family, that's residential investment. Or it gives someone the starting capital to open a sari-sari store, that's fixed investment. Every single one of those actions grows our economy from the ground up. Okay, so that's what happens at the family level. But what about on a huge national scale? Let's take the Build, Build, Build infrastructure program. How in the world does a country pay for billions and billions of pesos in new roads, bridges, and airports? Well, a big part of it is the government borrowing money by selling bonds. And who buys these bonds? As you can see right here, it's us. Individuals buy retail treasury bonds with our personal savings. The banks we put our money in, they buy them using our deposits. And our pension funds like SSS and GSIS, they invest our contributions by buying these bonds too. Our collective savings are literally paving the roads we drive on. And this brings us full circle, right back to where we started. You. Your role in this enormous, complicated economic machine is so much more important than you probably realize.
After seeing this entire journey, all the way from a single peso in your pocket to a brand new national expressway, what's the one thing, the main point, you should really take away from all of this?
It's this. That money you saved, it doesn't just sit in a vault gathering dust. It's out there working. It's being put to use. It's being transformed into the capital that builds homes, funds new businesses, and develops our entire nation. So every time you make the decision to save, you're also making a decision to build.